Okay, so let's take another look at my second game against bxm1000. Okay, so I'm white this time and they are black. I start off with c4, the English opening. Now, I usually play e5, but I really like the English opening for some reason. I like to switch it up once in a while because this opening is just very exciting. It gets a lot of stuff going on. It creates a nice complicated game which could be fun sometimes. Complicated, unpredictable. So I just decided to switch it up a little bit. So they played e5 and I played knight c3. They played knight f6. Now, once again, just like I said in the other video, I'm not trying to memorize every single move, so I switch it up once in a while. I played e3, okay? Let's see, the computer said a better move would be a3. Okay. Don't really see what that accomplishes. Maybe it prevents the bishop from coming down here and pinning me. Okay, I could kind of see that. But, okay. I played d3 nonetheless. And, okay, there we go. They countered with b4. Now, I think this was probably one of my biggest blunders in the opening. Actually, no, that wasn't too bad. I moved the queen to c2 because, once again, I like my pawn structure nice and neat. And if they capture my knight, I'll capture back with the queen rather than getting all messy with my pawn and having this big gaping hole in my queen side. I don't like that stuff. So anyway, they castled. Okay, I played g3. So far, the computer didn't think there was anything wrong with my moves other than playing this. Oh, sorry about that. Let me let this clear. Playing a3 over here. Okay, so they played knight to c6. I played e3. Once again, inaccuracy. You should have done a3. Wow, this computer really loves this a3 move. Okay, I guess I should have done that. I think they're actually right because this is going to come to bite me in the butt in a few minutes. You'll see. So I pushed this pawn here, e3, because I didn't want the knight, basically, let me take that back. I didn't want the knight coming over here and attacking my queen. So I played a3 to try to prevent that. And they played d5. Okay, so I captured. C takes d5. Queen takes d5. I did a4. Reason being, obviously, I recognized my rook was in trouble, so I had to stop that. So e4. They thought a better move would be f3. Really? That kind of immobilizes my knight. I'd have to move my knight over here, which blocks my bishop, and that kind of opens up my castle. That's not really my thing, I guess. But, okay. Duly noted. So, I did e4, and they did queen to d8. Okay. I did bishop to g2. That's another thing I like about the English, this little fianchetto over here. It's just, it could come in so clutch if you know how to use it or you get in the right situation, especially if you have a queenside attack going on over here. Come on. If you have a queenside attack going on over here and the opponent forgets about this fianchetto bishop, which actually happens quite a lot, this could be very useful. So they did knight to d4. And I did queen to d2. Now, I don't really like that move. I thought this was probably my worst move of the game. This kind of led to a lot of... I can't stop that from happening. I'm sorry. This kind of led to a lot of problems later on down the line. Because if I just did this, and maybe I could do this later if he didn't capture it. Yeah, it's never a good idea to pin your own piece, and I pay for this in a second. So I did queen to d2, and they did c5. I pushed this pawn up because I don't want this knight or this bishop coming down over here. I don't need that kind of trouble right now. So they did bishop to e6, okay. I did knight to f3. So I'm trying to get rid of this knight sooner or later. It's his position's very powerful right now. His or her position is very powerful right now. Even if you look at this bar over here, they're telling me that black is dominating at this point. So they move their rook to c8. And I capture e5. Free pawn, right? They do knight to d7. I take the knight at d7 and they capture back. Okay, so after that pawn I got, we're kind of about even right now in terms of what the computer thinks, but black is still winning according to the computer somewhat. So I finally moved my queen away because I really want to get rid of this pin. And they push the pawn on c4. I move the bishop to e3. Okay, they thought a better move would have been d takes c4. What would happen if I had done that? Let's see. Okay, they probably capture back with this bishop, and that would have prevented me from castling as well. So I'm not too fond of that either. Right? I don't have to agree with everything the computer says, right? Even though it's rated way higher than me, right? So I didn't take. I ended up moving my bishop to e3, and look, the bar moved over a lot again. They moved their knight to b5, and I pushed the pawn. I thought that was a wise move to push the pawn. They thought a better move would be, once again, to capture this pawn. I'm not sure why they're so obsessed with that move. Let's see, it would have led to this, and then this, and I would have probably taken over here, and they would have probably taken there. This is all speculative, of course. Yeah, I'm not in love with this position here, guys. Okay, all right, whatever. So anyway, I pushed it up. I still have my nice little neat pawn structure, so I'm happy. They capture. I captured. Oh yeah, I missed that, right? They put me in check. I moved over here. Better would have been king to f1. I don't see the advantage of that, but I did that. They took. I took back. They moved their rook to e8. I pushed the pawn to e5. Oh, look at that. I like that nice little pass pawn I have going over there. They moved their bishop to d5. And I captured. They captured back. And let's see, 23 moves into the game, and I finally get to castle. Look at that, folks. They did g6. I did a4. They did b5. I capture. I wasn't sure what my opponent was planning with that move, per se. Oh, okay. Queen takes b5. And I move bishop to c3. I know there's a free pawn hanging over there, but I saw this coming, and then, well, they couldn't really do that, right? Because I have two pieces protecting that square. Okay. Anyway, I moved over here. I guess I kind of want to get this little diagonal thing going once these pawns are out of the way. They move their rook to e6, and I finally take the pawn. They move their rook to a6, which I thought was going to happen. So I move my queen over here to e7. They move their rook to e8, and I move my queen to c5. Now, I know this was a very risky move over here because you're not really supposed to exchange when you're losing, which I am right now, but I figured if I had this passed pawn over here, somehow I could have used that to my advantage, and we'll see what happens here. They take with their queen. I take back, naturally. They did rook to a3. I moved my rook to c1 because I don't want to move this out of the way, right? I don't want to give that passed pawn on c4 a chance to run and become a queen, right? They did rook to c8. I moved my king to g2. They took, okay? Which I wanted them to do, because look at this nice little fork over here, right? The tables have turned. Look at this little meter over here. The tides are shifting. So I take the rook back. They take the rook back. And I push the pawn on f4. I'm not giving up this passed pawn over here, even for an exchange. They move their rook on a2 to check me, which is expected. King to f3, run away. Rook to a3, check once again. I think at some point I created a blunder because I really feel like this was a winnable position, but anyway. I guess I gave a spoiler alert, right? This ends in a draw. I move my king over to g4, and they push the pawn on c3. I'm not too worried about it because he can't really get a queen because his rook is pretty much playing babysitter to this piece over here, right? He's playing nanny over here. You can't move the rook anywhere. If he moves the rook anywhere down this file, I'm taking this pawn over here, okay? Likewise, he can't move the pawn because then it'll be unprotected, right? So I'm not too worried. I did h4. They did h5. I moved my king to g5. They do c2. We thought a better move would have been king to g7 for them, but I captured. Okay, that was a big mistake. That's where my mistake was. I was wondering where it was. They thought I should have done, let's see, king to h6. How could I have exploited that? Perhaps do this and then capture. Maybe. Okay. So anyway, I took because I was like, hey, look at this free pawn over here, which of course was a mistake. They captured. Check. Once again, that was a mistake on their part too. I move my king to f6. They push. I put them in check. They move their king over to h7. I move my rook down here to protect the pawn on f4, of course. And if they take over here on h4, I'm just going to take over here, right? And they're in trouble. Of course they saw that, so they moved the king to g8. And I kind of had to do a draw by agreement because we would have just kept going back and forth with the check, back and forth, because I can't move this rook from over here, right? Otherwise, this pawn is gone, and then I'm in serious trouble. So this is where it ended. It ended in a draw, so I won the first game. I drew the second game. All right, well, this was another episode of John's Chess Channel. Once again, I am always looking for new opponents. I'm pretty much open to all sorts of variations, all sorts of speed. I usually play speed games, but I'll play slow games if you can promise you're not using an engine. I'd really like to play My Teacher Sam, who's on chess.com. So if anybody can get in contact with him or get him to play me, I'll be cool with that. Maybe if I get some time, I'll try to reach out to him myself. So anyway, thank you for watching.